Sometimes when I'm detailing, I'll use insulation from wires to add some realism to shocks by using bushings or sometimes spark plug wires or you name it. And the best way I have found to get it even and parallel, and you can also have better control over the length, is this method I'm about to show you. First, I use a ruler that's flat on one side and a short piece of wire, and I'll roll it to straighten it out, make it straight. Then I put that wire in a pin vise, and I put it at whatever length I need, and I take my super sharp X-Acto knife blade, and I will ride it right along the edge of the wire, just going around till I kind of feel the metal. You don't want to do it too hard, man, or you'll go right into the metal and cut it off, or your finger, so be careful. We like our fingers where they are. And then boom, just like that, you got yourself a nice even little piece of insulation to use for whatever you want. So what I have is some 0.6 millimeter tubing from Albion Alloys, and this is how I make my wing nuts. First, I secured in a pin vise, and then I use some flat nose pliers, and I'm going to take just a little bit of the tip of this, and I'm gonna squeeze it, but I'm not gonna squeeze it really hard. I don't want to fatigue the metal any more than I'm already gonna do it. And so what you see is it's flat, but it's also, see if I can get this to focus right. It's also got, if you look at the end of that, it's like bubbled out on both ends. I didn't close it all the way, so I've got a little space in between going down the center. And when you look at the profile of it, you can see where it crushed, but it left a line down the center on both sides. And that's what I'm going to use to guide my blade. Now, it was extremely light pressure. It takes nothing. So what I have here is I split it, and you can see the little line that I put in there. And what I'm going to do is I am going to take my knife blade and ever so gently start prying it apart by rocking it back and forth. I'm trying to not fatigue the metal, I just want to spread it. That's what she said. And I'm going to keep working it until it's probably at a 45-degree angle, maybe. Not a very serious angle, because again, you don't want to fatigue the metal and break it, or you're going to be starting over. And usually when I get in the mode of doing something like this, I'll just keep going and make a bunch of them. Some turn out better than others. But you can see what I'm doing here. Just gently bending back and forth. There we go. So it's going to look something like that. My next step is to get in here with some 600 grit, maybe even 800 grit, because this is some really soft aluminum. It takes zero effort to remove material from it. And I'm going to shape it a little bit more, try to round it out ever so gently. Just taking my time and, you know, tripping out on it. Tripping, man. Just tripping. I want to shape what I'm doing to round off the edges of it. And it's the same process. Just being gentle with it, removing just a little bit of a material at a time. And if the camera picks this up, you can see that it's got a line down the center where the metal's actually bent up. So it's got like a little cup that goes along. So what I'm going to do, once I got it fairly to shape, I'm going to take my X-Acto knife blade and I'm going to go vertically into this and kind of spread it out just a little bit. Just so it gives it some depth, a little more realism. And you can see how it's all cupped on the center there like that. And rounded out. And then I'm going to take a 0.3 millimeter, which is approximately the size of the center of the tube. I probably could get away with a 0.4. And I am going to re-drill out the center of this. Get rid of any burrs. And round it out. So we have a good hole in the middle. And you know, you can use a little bit larger, but you're taking a lot of chances that way too. And then the last thing I'm going to do is this. I'm going to take an awl, which is, you know, just something with a good fine point on it that's steel. And I'm going to go into the center of it, maybe. I'm going to kind of wallow it out a little bit. Give it some roundness. As you can see right there. Then I take a real fine grit, like, God, 10,000 grit sanding stick, and I'm just going to gently polish it up and highlight the edges on it so it reflects light. Because with everything with the small scale, it's all about the highlights, your colors, and that's what brings out all your details. So as you can see, got kind of a little wing nut going on here. It's rounded out in the middle. It's got the little edges that are bent up on it. Pretty close to the right profile. And since it's a 6 millimeter, I'll just drill a 6 millimeter hole into the air cleaner. And this whole part right here will just kind of slide through the top of the air cleaner and rest just on the bottom part of the wings coming out. And I'll cut it off right about there. You won't see any of that, but it just makes it a lot easier to handle and mount into the air cleaner. And I cut it off by just rolling my blade right along the edge of this. Gently, careful. Oops. It's not even tight in my vise. Make sure to tighten your vise, it's just not too tight. Here we have a wing nut, and you just run a piece of wire up through it. That goes from the center of your carburetor, and a little dab of glue in a spot where nobody can see, and boom, you got yourself a little wing nut. So that's how I do that stuff.